Kharkiv essentially is the war zone in Ukraine right now. Every day there is shooting. Over the last week, there were days when 24 hours people of Kharkiv were living under air raids, and all they were hearing were the air raid sirens. Russia is shooting with missiles, with drones, and also with heavy shell long-range artillery. So for the people of Kharkiv, really, it's just a nightmare. It's living through a nightmare. President Zelensky has developed his 10-point peace plan, which he has on numerous occasions communicated to global leaders in all parts of the world, not just the Western partners of Ukraine, but also to India, China, to the Arab world, to countries on the African continent, and to countries in Asia. And there is hope that during this peace summit, there will be almost 100 leaders from across the globe will come together and hold discussions about each of these 10 points and what each one of them can do to bring peace closer, not just for Ukraine, but for the globe. Because really, as we can see, the war that Russia is waging against Ukraine is affecting countries as far as Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, as well as Angola, Mozambique, South Africa. Basically, all of the world is affected. When we look at the UN Charter, which essentially is a document on the peaceful coexistence of states, it tells us that when an act of aggression is committed by one state, then there is a collective responsibility from the international community to make sure that aggression stops. So essentially, that peace summit is about having countries, equal partners who respect each other's borders and the rules of international law, come together and think about how to make sure that one country, which is the perpetrator today, and the sole threat and risk to the global peaceful order, how do we make that country abide by international law? This is very dangerous because essentially what Russia is asking the international community to do is to condone, to accept the fact of Russia's aggression against Ukraine and to approve that by way of waging war, shooting civilians, destroying schools, hospitals, a country can secure an enlargement of its own territory. And this is quite mad, if you ask me, from the international point of view. It's not about peace. This is about land grabs, and this is about condoning of atrocities and forgetting of war crimes that Russia has committed against Ukraine. And to be frank, it's dangerous not just for Ukraine, who would lose the territory and who would thus betray its people, but it's also very dangerous for the world at large, because it will mean to other leaders who maybe have territorial claims in other countries that it's okay to go ahead and wage wars and commit all kinds of atrocities against human lives and human rights, that at the end of the day, the international community will allow them to get away with it. This is why this would be a crime not only on the part of Russia, but also a crime on the part of all the international actors and parties to the UN Charter and those countries that still want to live in a peaceful world order. Unfortunately, this will lead only to more war and only to more deaths of Ukrainians and possibly even to citizens of other countries, because accepting concessions from Russia means only giving Russia the green light to go on with its aggression and with its expansionist, imperialistic strategies and policies. The thing is, Ukraine is not waging a war. In Ukraine, the men and women who are fighting on the front lines, we are merely protecting what is ours. We are protecting our land, we are protecting our homes, and we are protecting our families from a neighbor who has decided to invade and take what is not Russia's. So it's not about Ukraine stopping. If Ukraine stops fighting, there will be no Ukraine. It's about Russia stopping, removing its weapons, removing its military units from the territory of Ukraine, and seizing all kinds of aggression and all kinds of absolutely illegal territorial claims to Ukraine. Ukraine today operates under martial law. We were forced to introduce the martial law in February 2022, on the 24th of February 2022. I was one of the members of parliament who has voted for the introduction of the martial law, and after that, for over a dozen times now, I have voted for the extension of the martial law. This is a condition imposed on us by the missiles that Russia sends on a nightly basis, by the drones that Russia launches against Ukraine on a nightly basis. This is imposed by us, by the Russian tanks that operate in the Ukrainian territory. And unfortunately, under martial law, we cannot hold any election, not parliamentary, not presidential, not to local government. No election can be held. There is technical reasons for that. There's also legal reasons for that. And Ukraine's legislation in this respect is no different from any other country in the world. I think you will find that in the legislation of most countries in the world, when there is martial law, there can be no elections. The support of the West keeps coming, but it keeps coming with a significant delay. And that delay for Ukraine is counted not in days or in weeks, it's counted in human lives that are being lost because there's not enough ammunition, because there's not enough protection, defense weapon systems that could be used to shoot down the Russian missiles or to shoot or to counter Russia's aggression in Ukraine. And this has been the case since 2022, since the first months preceding to the escalation of Russia's aggression, when the West was telling us, well, there will be an escalation, Russia is going to invade. And when we Ukrainians were asking, okay, can we count on your support? Can we count on your military support? And the answer was no, you cannot. So we were left on our own to fend. And in my opinion, the fact that Russia has proceeded so far into Ukraine is because there was a belated support from the West, and that support is still being delayed at crucial points, at critical points during our counteroffensive and during our countering in general of Russia's military aggression. Well, today we already have an agreement from our Western allies to use these weapons to strike inside of Russia. The US has consented, the UK has consented, and we hope that other countries will also follow. This is an absolutely necessary step for us, because it's from the territory of Russia that Russia is launching the most severe attacks on Ukraine, including on Kharkiv and other cities in the region of Kharkiv. So for us, this will be an absolute game changer, for which we have waited for a long time. Having said this, this is an evidence that the support for Ukraine has not declined. We are getting the financial aid, the military aid from the United States has been approved. As long as the United States sticks by Ukraine, this means that the other Western allies are also sticking by. We have the EU facility, which is also a large contributor of financial aid to Ukraine. We have the Nordic countries, which have increased the spending for military support of Ukraine and defense support of Ukraine. At the moment, I don't think there are forces on the front line. We know that there were announcements by the French President Macron, for which we are absolutely grateful. In my opinion, again, I think that it needs to be a collective solidarity effort to have boots on the ground, helping Ukraine from all the allies of Ukraine. The more, the better. But at the moment, my understanding is that this is only about common training that is happening not in the battlefield, not in the zone of conflict as itself, but in the training centers. At the same time, there are foreign legions, foreign battalions, which have been formed, where foreign citizens have signed the contract with the Ukrainian army and are serving on the front lines. And we are extremely grateful as Ukrainians for every single act of support, which comes either on the battlefield, which comes either in the form of volunteer humanitarian aid or military and defense aid coming from every corner of the world. Russia already escalated this war to the maximum. For over 2 years now, every single city in Ukraine has been under attack from Russia. Russia has launched missiles as far as the border with Poland. This is the westernmost points of Ukraine. So there's no more that Russia can escalate. There's no more fear that Russia will escalate inside of Ukraine. As for the part of our partners, especially those who are members of the NATO, there's no chance Russia will attack a NATO partner. That's the whole point. Russia has never attacked a NATO member state. Russia can attack NATO partners, but not a NATO member state. So there's definitely no threat in that.